Legendary!
What is up guys, Kris05 with another video here. Today I want to show you how you can beat the Lich King with all 9 classes with cheap or free decks and get the cool Prince Arthas skin for your Paladin. It's really simple and it requires minimum crafting on your side, but it will take some time and patience. All you need to do is head on down to Hearthpwn.com and search for a cheap class deck for each class. They even have a guide sitting there for you that will help you on the adventure against the Lich King. There are several ways to beat the Lich King, but most of them will require you to restart the game until you have a perfect mulligan in order to pull off a combo on the Lich King. First, let's see the general tips that should stay true with most classes, but not for all of them. Keeping control of the board is required at this point. When possible, you should deal some damage to his face, but you don't have to make it your priority. On turn 7, the Lich King will play Frostmourne. At this point, all minions on his side of the field are killed, 6 trapped souls are spawned for him, and he goes immune thanks to his hero power, Harvest of Souls. Your goal now is to get rid of the trapped souls as soon as possible to break the immunity and get rid of the weapon. It should be noted that Frostmourne goes immune, preventing chargers from being destroyed. After all trapped souls are destroyed, the Lich King loses his hero power and gains a new one, Remorseless Winter. Once he's got into this next phase, the fight has no new mechanics to it. Simply take him out before you end up dead due to the increasing damage every turn from his hero power. As you can see, Hearthpwn prepared great decks for you guys to use against the Lich King, but sadly they all include legendaries and epics, some of which are not even used in the meta. That doesn't really work for us, so it's time to turn to the community. Let's look at a few good, cheap or even free options for each class. If you really want to get that prince, my best advice to you is to throw some dust at Murlocs, since they will be your go-to deck almost for all classes. On top of that, Murlocs always find a way to get into the meta and they will probably be useful for you in the future too. When you are searching for a deck for each class, you can just type in Google cheap or budget class deck versus the Lich King and you will usually get good options there. If you want to search for your next class deck more specifically, you can use Hearthpwn's search bar. Just write down Lich King in the search bar and set the set to standard or all and choose your class and press filter. You can even arrange the decks to price or upvotes and etc. Okay, starting off with Druid. When you are fighting against the Lich King, he will use a cheat against you, which is different for each class. Against Druid, Lich King has Purge the Weak, which destroys all of your minions that cost 3 mana or less. This can actually be used to your advantage, leaving you only with cards you actually want to use, so you can even consider this as a buff. Here is a really good and cheap Jade Idol Druid deck that gets the job done fast. I won't waste much time on it, since Jades rotated to wild and some of you might not want to craft those. Instead, you might want to try out this cheap Token Druid deck. Also, crafting a Mossy Horror might not be the worst idea if you are serious about beating the Lich King fast, because it insta-clears those trapped souls as soon as he drops them, so you might want to consider it. Moving on to Hunter. In the beginning of the game, Lich King will cast the Hunted on you, which deals 2 damage to your face for each minion you have in your deck. Ouch. Here is a good deck to try out. It includes only 4 wild cards, but you should have no problem replacing them with something from your current collection. As long as you follow the main idea of the deck, you should be okay with Hunter. For Mage, the Lich King will cast the True Lich King, which will set your HP to 1. Yikes. Here is a cool, almost free deck you can use with Mage. This dude explained the idea of the deck very well in his guide, so you might want to try that out. Using Murlocs is also a great option for you. With Pally, you will have to deal with Fallen Champions, which takes control of all of your dead minions. This deck really gets the job done fast. All you have to do is mulligan for a Dragonhawk and protect and buff it till it gets out of control. Pure and simple. Another option would again be Murlocs, but the Dragonhawk should work just fine for you. Priest was super easy as I remember it. The Lich King doesn't even have a real cheat against you, but instead it has the meme Shut Up Priest cheat, which is nothing, basically. All you need to do here is play some version of an Inner Fire Priest and just buff a minion out of control. Here's the cheapest version of a deck that I found, but you can just improve it with the cards that you already have to increase your chances. Shadow Visions will improve your odds a lot, but if you don't have it, you can still beat him with some more tries. For Rogue, Lich King will destroy all of your spells with the cheat The Price of Power, similarly to the Druid cheat. You can just use a cheap Warlock deck again. A Fledgling will help a bit too. If you don't like this deck, you can look around for something that suits you better. Next we have Shaman. The Lich King's cheat will set all of your minions to 1/1 with his Necrotic Plague. Again, Murlocs are the cheap way here. Here is a straightforward deck that you can use. Again, you can look for another alternative to this deck, but most of the decks do include Murlocs or are super expensive. With Warlock, you have to minimize the duplicates in your deck, since the Lich King's Soul Reaper will deal 2 damage to you for each of them. That being said, Reno and Kazakus would really be useful here, but they are far from essential and irreplaceable. Murlocs are your guys here too, and you can name your Warlock deck Murloc, so it is quite fitting. You can just change the wildcards from this deck with a Fledgling and use the Murlocs you own. Last but definitely not least, we have Warrior. I remember this was super hard for me to pass back then, since the Lich King will gain 100 armor with the cheat The True King, stacking his HP total to 160. I used a version of this deck when I had to beat it. You can change these cheap big cards with better ones you already own, as long as they have good stats. Feel free to look for a better option, since with this deck you will really need a lot of restarts and a lot of luck. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope this helps you get that epic looking Arthas without costing you too much dust and time. Thanks for watching. I'm Kris05 and I'll see you in my next video.